one donated franc, the Swiss table can convert it to 2 kilos of food they are transporting to needy people.
Welcome back to another edition of COVID-19 from Crisis to Creation here on Mentoring TV. Well, with the COVID-19 crisis continuing to rambling on and people continuing to lose their job, actually we do expect over 400 million full-time jobs to be lost in the second quarter of 2020 alone, I thought it is time to look at poverty. But poverty, not in general, but poor people in rich countries such as Austria, Germany, or here in Switzerland, where I am reaching out to you from. And in order to discuss all of that, what we all can do, what the situation is, and what the outlook is, I invited the CEO of the Swiss Table Foundation called Schweizer Tafel. His name is Stefan Möckli, and I also invited the head of the foundation's association here in Zurich, Beatrice Schreiber. Thank you so much to both of you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure for us. Thank you, Patricia.
Well, Stefan, let me first of all ask you and kick this discussion off with you. It is a pertinent issue to have, a rich place such as Zurich, such as Geneva, such as Switzerland in general, talking about poverty. To many of our viewers, to many people, that would not make sense because Switzerland is rich. What is the situation really?
Yes, indeed, Switzerland is a very rich country. When you look at the average wealth of a person, it's 560,000 Swiss francs. More than 500,000 Swiss francs is the wealth of each and every person in Switzerland in average. When we look at the past 5 years, only at the past 5 years, according to statistics, we had an increase of 20% more poor people. And today we arrived at 660,000 people in Switzerland. 8.2% of the population, of the Swiss population, is defined poor.
Yeah, and it seems about double that almost is at the borderline of being poor. That is incredible. And I think what is quite interesting to see also, Stefan, is what is poor in Switzerland, of course, is super rich, for example, in India. So we have to always define what poverty is. And I pulled out the number here. So in Switzerland, a poor person is defined as one single person in a household earning $2,300 or less. That sounds a lot of money, of course, but if you look at the living costs here in Switzerland, that is a lot. Tell us a little bit about the situation. Who is poor here? What are the main groups?
Well, there are many single persons. Many single persons are beyond these poor people. Persons who maybe had a problem with drugs, and persons, also elderly people who are living alone at home, and where the AHV, the pension, is not really sufficient to pay everything. And then we have also many households where no one is working, and households where one person is working, but maybe only temporary, or mainly part-time, or households with more than 3 children, 2 or 3 children. These are people who are defined as poor in Switzerland.
Now, as you are the CEO of this association, Stefan, I wonder, can you really already see the pre-COVID impact, what is happening since we saw the lockdowns, also job losses here in Switzerland, and what you may perhaps see coming?
Yes, everyone in Switzerland can see it. If he looks at the Tagesschau in television, we have seen in Geneva and also in Zurich, we have seen huge lines of people standing for getting food, a bag of food, 20 Swiss francs worth. These are people who had no possibility to work during the time during the crisis. For example, people who work in a household, and they could not work in this household because of the risked people, hairdressers, people like that, and also sex workers. We had an organization who is helping sex workers with food. So we delivered food to this organization. There are many type of situations where people will become poor in the next, or became poor or will become poor in the next few months.
So tell me then a little bit about what the Schweizer Tafel does. I mean, you're observing it, you're seeing what is happening in terms of, the increase of demand of food supply for people just to have one single warm meal in their tummy a day. So what do you actually do? How are you organized at the Schweizer Tafel?
Well, we are a foundation, 100% financed by donors. And what we do is we collect food which is in a perfect status, but is not going to be sold anymore. We go to 500 supermarkets in Switzerland every day with our 36 vehicles, and we deliver this food to organizations, social organizations like Suppenküchen, or places where people can sleep, refugee camps, and so on and so forth. There are about 500 supermarkets where we get the food and we bring it. We get it for free. I have to say that we get it for free. We bring it for free to about 500 social institutions in all over Switzerland.
Yeah, and let me bring you in now, Beatrice, because now we can get a little bit more specific, and then we get back to Stefan to give his flavor and his experience to it. So Stefan was just mentioning, really delivering food and food supply, and Suppenküchen I mentioned earlier on. Zurich itself, you are here, you're the expert, and you have organized hands-on implementation of help. What are you doing here in Zurich?
Well, here in Zurich, we have very generous members who are helping us with donating us a big amount of money, because for them it's also impossible to believe that we have so many food waste here in our rich country, but even people are here poor who can't really earn enough money for their daily bread and butter, or who really got poor because of illness, because of the old people get ill, people who live alone. And so I thought, well, it's a really great thing to engage me. And I started to work with Swiss Table, or with this association of the Swiss Table. We're making here fundraising for the Swiss Table. And so we organize many events 5 times a year for our members, but also for the other people, to show them how we are working, what the Swiss Table is doing, and also how many food waste we have.
Well, I think one of the events this is how we met, Bea, and I was so blown away, and that is the event Taste Not Waste. And now we're moving into this dichotomy, this kind of conundrum where on one hand, you've got 8.2% of the Swiss population labeled as poor under the parameters of the federal office. On the other hand, you've got 2.8 million tons worth of food wasted in this country alone every single year. There's a little statistic I want to share with you. That amount of food waste equates to 4.5 times the total weight of the Swiss population. So just for a laugh, I just thought, being a numbers girl, I just thought I needed to share that with you, because I thought that was a lot. But coming back to that event, Bea, where we met, Taste Not Waste. Tell us a little bit more about this fantastic event, which then also, of course, started my heart really beating for your organization.
We are inviting about 150 guests to a dinner. and the cooks conjure with the food collected by the Swiss table, conjure a really delicious dinner at this night, and the hotel offers us a beautiful ballroom, the service, everything they offer is free of charge. And the whole incoming of this evening, it's really a beautiful dinner, and the people enjoyed a lot to talk, and we present.
And we had an opera singer. Do you remember? I mean, yeah, you organized it. I remember it was fantastic. So there I was eating my fabulous, gourmet food made of leftovers, and then in walks this diva from the opera.
Yeah, it was really great. I met her through friends, and I told her about the idea of this beautiful dinner at the Beau Lac, and she said, "Oh, I want to take part of it. Let's help me. What can I do?" And I said, "Well, if you would like to sing there," and even also the lady who played piano from the Opernhaus Zurich, she said, "Well, we are coming and everything free of charge. It's a great idea what you are doing. It's a great mission of the Swiss table. I really can't pay you nothing." But we said, "No problem, no, sure, we're coming. It's such a great idea, so we will come."
Yeah, true philanthropy. And we'll talk about other implementations of what the Swiss table does. But back to you, Stefan. In 2014, I published this book, and this is not to do any kind of advertising, but I wrote it in Italian. I was asked by the University of Bocconi to look at with a critical eye at the Agenda 2010, Agenda 2010, implemented by Schröder to get the economy going again. And of course, the program included Hartz IV. So this book is called Ricca Germania, Poveri Tedeschi, so rich Germany and the poor Germans. Now, that drove really inequality, especially poverty, up to where it stands now and kind of sticks at 15.5%, which is more or less double than the poverty here in Switzerland. But Germany somehow has a justification. They did some reforms, which even though you were working poor and you just did not make it in order to create some sort of wealth. But let me ask you this little bit of a provocative question, why we have to deal with poverty in Switzerland in the first place. What is Switzerland's excuse to have over 8% of poverty? And the increase between 2016 and 17 of poverty was in that 1 year alone 10%. Why?
Well, that's a good question. There are many, 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 many reasons. There are many people who are falling out of the system. In Switzerland, we are living economically in a very competitive system. And if you can't hold the speed, let's say it like this, you go through a program of reintegration and you get money from the government. But afterwards, you are kind of if you don't have any funds left, you have to go to the Social Security office and get money from there. And the amount for people who are unemployed, you can really live with this amount. This is very comfortable. Always depending of how much you earn, but But then when you get to the social security institution, then the amounts are low and you really touch poverty. We don't only have the 8.2% of poor people, we have 1.2 million of people close to be poor. And this is the people who are touching poverty now. Maybe, I don't hope so, but potentially are drifting to the poverty status. And this is I'm not a prophet, but we can see in our daily work that the organizations we deliver with food, they have more demand. Some organizations during the COVID time, like Suppenküchen, could not function because they had to close because of the hygienical restrictions and the distances we had to hold. And now they're open again. And during the COVID time, we saw a big shift from these organizations to other organizations. They were kind of overrun. So we delivered much more food to Abgabestellen, where people were handed over bags of foods, and they brought the food home and did not had the service of a prepared meal. But now these organizations, social organizations, are open again, and we can see that there is a higher demand of food. I mean, this is
Yeah,
very logical.
it is quite amazing. And I have to say, as a student, I also helped out in a hotel in the catering part of it, and the amounts of food that was thrown away on a daily basis. You know, if you're grown up with a certain culture where you honor food and prepared food, you don't throw it away if there are leftovers. You put it in the fridge in your good old tupper, and then you kind of serve it the next time somehow. And there's nothing better than after a night out, a stale pizza in the morning from the night before. But back to you now, Bea. In terms of Zurich and the Suppentag, you know, I can just imagine, and this November, I think you always do it towards October, November, the Suppentag. I'm going to partake. I have Victoria, my little one, also partaking there. What is it like? Who is really putting their hands, you know, rolling up the sleeves and helping out and really helping people to get their one warm meal of that day?
Yes, the Soup Day is our second big event we organize Swiss-wide. Well, here in Zurich, I organize it with friends helping me. And it's really a very big event. Many very well-known cooks sponsor us their soups. And then celebrities from culture, sports, political are coming to donate the soup to everybody. And we hope that they also give us a little bit of money back for the soup they got. They're really great made. And so we want to show a little bit to raise the awareness for poverty and also for the mission of Swiss Table. And in the last 4 years, I convinced or motivated bankers to help us because so many people are coming in Zurich. It's really crazy. At the Paradeplatz, even the how do you say, Straßenbahn?
Well, the tram.
Even the tram couldn't drive anymore at 6 o'clock in the evening because so many people were standing there because it was also the lighting of the Christmas light. It was the first day of the lightning when we were there with the Soup Day, and it was crazy. And the bankers from 4 different banks are coming to help us. And so it's one day where they're not dealing with millions. No, they have to tackle the work. They're outside, so they have to take the soups and bring new one to clean up the tables. And they get their hands dirty. It's really funny that they now are working in such a totally different way. But they are always also convinced about this and come each year back. So I'm really very happy to get so much work. And every year we try to make it better this day to show really to many, many people what the Swiss Table is doing against the poverty here in Switzerland.
Now, in terms of the supermarkets, Stefan, back to you. I think this is tremendously important. And in my research, I saw that Migros is extremely engaged into eliminating food waste. And we touched on it at the beginning of our conversation, but I think it is still important to have on one hand rumbling tummies, and on the other hand, you do have all that food waste. What can we all do, you think, to reduce the food waste of millions, if not billions, of tons of food, fresh food, edible food in the entire supply chain? Let's say from planting the carrot to consuming it well cooked on your plate.
Well, first, not only Migros is doing a tremendous job. All the different supermarket chains are really having food waste as a top subject on their agenda. First, when you ask me what we can do as an individual, we can do a lot, because 30% of food waste is thrown away by individuals at home. You buy too much food, you don't cook it, you don't eat it, and you throw it away. So 30% is of the 2.8 million tons is generated at home. And what we do is, when you look at the distribution supermarket chains, they have there is about 6% of the total food waste generated. One would think it's much more, right? I think everyone sees, or thinks to see the food, but it's only 6%. And what we do is we collect 4,000 tons. Can you see the potential we have? We have such a huge potential, We can't reach to each and every supermarket in Switzerland. What we can do, we are organized in 6 regions. There we have a head of a region and many volunteers. We are really living from the volunteers. They help us every day. We're about 70 people working, moving 36 vehicles every day. And from these 70 people, we are 14 people employed. And all the other people are retired people who want to work as volunteers and help us make a tremendous job every day. We move every day 16 tons of food from A to B.
Yeah. And I think this is tremendous. And these trucks, Bea, and let me get back to you, because you are very much involved in the fundraising, having such fabulous contacts with people that are involved is really important. You have to have these trucks. These trucks need to be bought, maintained, fueled. They need to be operated by people. And if I look at a food waste category, what we are really wasting here, and the number one is definitely dairy products. And, the dairy products, I think there is a bit of confusion about the sell-by date, Bea. And often the sell-by date being close to it or just over it doesn't mean that you need to throw away that food. And I'm sure you've experienced that too.
Yes, even at home, I saw this. When you buy yogurt, for example, and it says only until this day you should eat it. Well, I found in my refrigerator yogurts my children forgot, and after 2 weeks, although it passed the day, it was still delicious. But many people are not sure if they really should eat it, and then they throw it away. It has passed the day for selling, but has never passed the day for eating. This is very important because the Swiss table is controlled also through the government, and they're delivering food to people who are ill, who are old. So it's very important that the food is still perfect, and it is. The food the Swiss table is delivering, although it is a food waste, as you could say, it still is perfect, and you still could eat it.
Stefan, let me ask you a last couple of questions. The first thing is, Bea just mentioned the Swiss government. Do you think that there is still scope for the Swiss government to help more, so organizations like yours have a less of a job? That's my first part of the question. And do you think that lockdowns in general, and it might be a bit of a morale issue here because of the health issue, lockdowns in general were really quite suicidal for what's happening for the people on the poverty line that you mentioned earlier on, and shouldn't have happened?
Well, there is a lot of room for more activities from the governmental side. We are 100% donated. Our donations come from private organizations or foundations, and we have a budget of 2.7 million Swiss francs every year. And it's a complication to get this money. It's a real complication, because normally when you buy something and you sell something, you have a margin in between. And from this margin, you can send an invoice there and pay an invoice here. And with this margin, you can finance everything. So as our business model, you understand, is we get it for free. Thank you very much, and we bring it for free. So we have to look for money at third place, and this is a whole world, and it's also a competitive world. Many organizations are um, are, 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 are demanding for money because they have. What we need, in fact, to have not only 36 vehicles and not only 14 employees. The only thing we need is money, and with this money, we can go to more supermarkets, we can get more food waste, save more food, and what we can do is we bring it to more organizations where they can cook more meals and help people in poverty. We also thought about closing, because it was more dangerous. Many retired people belonging to the risk group could not come anymore because they said we are belonging to when we didn't want them to come. And yes, it's especially in this time we live now. It's very important that we are 100% active. And I'm so proud of our organization that we really moved all our cars, and we have a complicated job already. You don't know each day what kind of food you get. You don't know what the other places take, what the social institutions take. So we have a really difficult job. Here was a close down. Here was less food because we became new food because all the restaurants were closed down. And the industry, with all the tons of food which were planned to be delivered into the restaurants, what did they do with that? They called us. We organized special tours from here to there and moved and moved and moved. It was kind of, it was really crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy, but positive crazy, because you really thought we are moving the needle in really dire situations.
Yeah.
To sum up our conversation and wrap it up with you, Bear, where can people, but especially institutions, find the Schweizer Tafel? How can they help? Who do they speak to?
Well, really, we need every time help. And as Stefan said, the most important is that we need more money, because everything is sponsored, everything is donated. And that's why the most important, we can show that with one donated franc, the Swiss table can convert it to 2 kilos of food they are transporting to needy people. Or if you say it with other words, with 2 kilos of food, we deliver 30.6 francs food to people who need help. And so it's very important that we got more members who are sponsoring us, who are donating us money, and we also get everything could be reduced by the tax deductible. And so it's very important that you get known of us. You find us in the internet, but you also can attend one of our events. There you get a little bit more known about the people who are working for the Swiss Table, who are working for us, for the Gönnerverein in Zurich, or in other Gönnervereins which exist also in in Aargau, in Baden, in Bern, in St. Gallen and Lucerne. Or also one very important experience is if you once drive as a companion in such a van from the Swiss Table. You can call us and make an appointment, and then we're going to meet to try to find the right day. And if you once have been as a companion in such a van, you really never will forget that, because this is experience you made. You have seen how many food has been thrown away, how glad the people are who are getting it, how it's really heartwarming when you once have seen that.
Yes, and I am so grateful for the both of you to have taken out the time to talk to me here on Mentorate TV. I wanted to raise the issue, the awareness for, you know, poor people in rich countries in general. And as we are here and you're doing such a fabulous job and really moving and shifting the needles for so many people on a daily basis. So thank you very much for what you are doing, Stefan, for what you are doing, Bea, here in Zurich as well. It is amazing. I've been there, I've seen it. And, you know, lockdown, no lockdown, COVID-19, no COVID-19, this is an issue that needs to have support, be it monetary or with rolled up sleeves or with a VIP factor, whatever. I think it's fabulous. And if people find it hard to find you, you can always come through me, you know, drop me a line, info@mentorate.tv. You know where to find me here on the station. So, and I will definitely link you up with Bea or with Stefan himself. So thank you so much for talking to me about this very pertinent issue.
Thank you,
Patricia. We enjoyed it a lot.
It was a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for raising up this very, very important subject, and also to give us the possibility that people can look into our world. We love our world, and we want to be. We want that it grows and that we can fight against poverty in Switzerland.
Thank you.